Confidence is important. Aristotle, who is accepted as one of the most important philosophers of the ancient period, can be considered as the person who put forward the first important determinations on youth. The assessment he made thousands of years ago is exactly this. Young people's wishes are so many, what's more, they want to turn all these wishes into action immediately. They are very variable. Their wishes are temporary. They flash and fade out. They are passionate, grumpy, and angry. They cannot stand even the smallest obstacle erected. Throughout the ages, every scientist who wanted to do research on youth has basically tried to determine the types of behavior within the framework expressed by Aristotle, and developed different theories. However, youth is not a concept that can be studied by looking at individuals from the outside and measured by experiments in laboratory environments. Actually, it is just one of the few stages that human beings experience in the development process. In other words, it is the most dynamic, active, and hopeless station of life, in which all of us have an age range but stay for a while. That is why I do not think the youth period is a period that we can only comment on by sitting cross-legged on the side. You can only look at it from one place to understand and interpret it. First from within yourself, then through their eyes. Here, I have the opportunity to look at the issue from their eyes in the programs I have been doing and the seminars I have attended in the last few years. If young people are the foundation of society and the guarantee of the future, they should have their claims, dreams, and ideals. A youth that does not break with itself is at peace with its values and always carries the concern of producing ideas. A youth that is anxious to play a leading role in the world of the future carries hope for the future of Turkey. There is only one way to do all this, and that is self-confidence. As a matter of fact, every person gains various experiences in which he or she trusts or distrusts himself or herself in the process of getting to know life, since he or she opens his or her eyes to life. Perspective on life is also shaped within this framework. The process, which starts with a baby trying to stand for the first time, holding onto a place that will support its body, and then continues with his standing on his own feet, is the period in which the first sense of self-confidence is acquired. Self-confidence is having a positive but realistic attitude about oneself. In other words, self-confidence means that a person struggles with positive thinking without delaying the things he will do. A story that has been shared frequently on social media lately has perhaps attracted the attention of many of you, as it did me. Although the issue of the accuracy of the story is of secondary importance, the meaning at the end is quite impressive. In the story, there is a businessman whose business has deteriorated and who cannot breathe from the bottleneck he is stuck in. Our remarkable hero, who once did very serious work, is now dealing with his debts. So much so that on one hand, the creditors are pressuring him. On the other hand, a lot of people are waiting for payment. He comes out with a negative response from the bank he goes to, with new hope in order to use a loan, and walks to the park opposite the bank. While deep in thought with his head in his hands on a bench, he notices a well-dressed old man standing in front of him. The man is standing right in front of him, staring at the pensive man in thought and watching him. Before the businessman can get over his surprise, the old man speaks up. "You are too pensive and thoughtful. Maybe I can help you out. Would you like to share your problem with me?" The businessman, in his pessimistic world, obviously begins to tell his troubles when he sees such closeness from someone. Moreover, from someone he has never met. Furthermore, there is a mature person who is kind and listens carefully to him. Listening to the businessman's words, the stranger says, "I will help you," and takes out his checkbook from his pocket. He asks for the name of the businessman and scribbles something on the notebook and says, "The money is yours. You will pay me back when we meet here in a year." And after giving the check, he disappears as quickly as he came. The businessman looks first at the old man's departure, then at the check he handed a few seconds ago. The check says $500,000. Moreover, the signature on the bottom belongs to John Rockefeller, a wealthy entrepreneur known to the whole world. It takes a while for him to get over this surprise. First, he thinks of getting rid of all of his debts by cashing the check. However, this time he gives up on this idea. as he would have owed the amount written on the check for a year later and could not predict the turnover he could make at the end of the year. Now he has found a reserve. After a long time, something good has happened. Returning to his office, he puts the check in his safe. With the confidence of knowing that the check is in his safe, he clings to his work again with brand new optimism. He starts to evaluate all the works, big or small. Restructures payment plans. In just a few months, he finishes his debts to the market. And even money begins to enter his safe. The increase in his capital is directly proportional to his self-confidence. It has been exactly 1 year since he got the check from Rockefeller, and it's time to pay his debt. He takes the check that he has never touched from his safe and, as agreed, goes to where he first met the old man in the park and starts to wait. After a short while, he sees the old man hastily coming towards him and stands up. He cannot wait to tell him what happened. When he is about to take the check out of his pocket and hand it to the man, a nurse comes running and takes the old man's arm. Thinking that the old man is bothering him, the nurse feels the need to explain. "I'm so glad I found him. I hope he didn't bother you. Because this gentleman is constantly running away from the nursing home and coming to this park. He tells everyone that he's John Rockefeller." She takes the old man's arm, and they go away in the direction they came from. The businessman's amazement is even more indescribable than a year ago when he received the check. All year long, he bought, made, and sold businesses, believing he had $500,000 behind him. However, he believed a big lie. Now he realizes that it is by no means money that changes the course of his life. What changes his life is the confidence and belief he finds in himself again. The author of this anonymous story concluded with the message, "We must seek the secret of success in what is in our heart, not in our safe." It is known as a socio-psychological reality that there are serious differences between individuals who are self-confident and who have not developed this sense. The first of these occurs during a comparison at the point of dreams and expectations. Individuals with this emotion struggle. Moreover, no matter how tough and sometimes impossible this struggle may seem, they continue to strive, always thinking optimistically, unlike people who have a developed sense of confidence. At this point, determination to struggle and trust are two different motives that should be evaluated together, even if they seem like different concepts. Another important distinction can be observed in the decision-making process. In this process, when insecure people are preparing to make a decision, they give importance to the ideas and thoughts of others rather than themselves. The lack of confidence in their own self and abilities will in a sense enslave them to others. Concluding this point within an anonymous story, I think, will make what is told more understandable. One day a competition is held among the frogs. The first frog to reach the top of a very high tower will win the competition. On the day of the competition, the race begins among the cheers of many frogs gathered as spectators. All of the frogs who come to watch think that it is impossible to reach the top, and shout out to their friends who compete in their cheers that they will never succeed. In the face of this difficult task, which is really impossible to overcome, the competitive frogs start to leave the race one by one. Only one frog stubbornly and relentlessly continues to climb the tower. The audience continues to shout, exclaiming the difficulty of the goal and the futility of the effort. After a while, all the competing frogs, with the exception of that one frog, lose their hopes and give up the fight. The struggling frog manages to climb to the top of the tower. It's later understood that the only difference between that frog and the other contestants is that he's deaf. You can do anything you want to do in life if you have a fierce belief in yourself, a strong will, a big heart, and some role models to inspire you. Tyrone Bogues, NBA player. There are two types of people who tell you that you cannot make a difference in this world. Those who are afraid to try, and those who are afraid you will succeed. R. Goforth. If you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. Abraham Maslow. Above all, be of single aim, have a legitimate and useful purpose, and devote yourself unreservedly to it. James Allen. Often the difference between a successful person and a failure is not one has better abilities or ideas, but the courage that one has to bet on one's ideas, to take a calculated risk and act. Andre Malraux.